Hello my dear friends, welcome to Hauntra. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon so that you don't miss any exciting coming up videos. Emily Barrett, a travel journalist, stumbled upon an old map pointing to a forgotten town called Ravenshade. Its eerie reputation intrigued her. She drove through dense, foggy woods for hours before the trees parted, revealing the town's crooked sign swaying in the breeze. Ravenshade appeared frozen in time, dust-covered windows, creaky houses, and a chilling stillness. An unnatural silence loomed, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves. As Emily parked her car, she noticed the air felt colder. She tightened her coat and made her way to the town square. Every step on the cobblestone echoed unnaturally. Her curiosity deepened when she found a peculiar message carved into a bench. "Welcome to Ravenshade. Leave before dusk." Emily entered a crumbling inn at the center of the square. Inside, an elderly man dressed in tattered clothes warmed himself by a flickering fire. "You shouldn't be here," he murmured without turning around. Emily tried to ask questions, but his replies were cryptic. "This town, it doesn't let you leave once it knows you're here." He warned her to stay inside after sunset, but refused to explain further. Dismissing him as superstitious, Emily left, clutching her camera tightly. Outside, she noticed shadows lengthening, as if the evening crept faster in Ravenshade. The cold felt alive, whispering secrets only the brave or foolish would listen to. Determined to uncover Ravenshade's mystery, Emily explored the local library. Dust coated the shelves, and books were scattered as if abandoned in a hurry. She found a brittle journal from 1892 detailing the town's demise. Ravenshade thrived once, but faced a string of disappearances starting with children. Then adults vanished without a trace. A local woman, Evelyn Darrow, was blamed for witchcraft and burned at the stake. Her final words cursed the town, condemning all who stayed after dark. As Emily read, the sound of faint footsteps made her glance around nervously, but she was alone. Or so she thought. Emily returned to her car, intent on leaving before dusk. To her horror, the car wouldn't start. She tried everything, but the engine remained silent. Panic surged as the sun dipped lower, casting eerie shadows across the square. She noticed movement in the windows of the abandoned houses, dark silhouettes staring at her. Turning abruptly, she saw no one. Desperate, she rushed back to the inn. The old man was gone, but the fire burned brighter, casting grotesque shapes on the walls. A chilling laugh echoed, making her freeze in place. The inn seemed darker than before, every corner alive with shifting shadows. Emily barricaded herself in a room upstairs, her heart pounding. A mirror on the wall caught her attention. It was old and tarnished, but showed a faint movement behind her. She spun around, finding only emptiness. Suddenly, the doorknob rattled violently, followed by whispers in an unknown language. "Who's there?" she shouted, but the voices stopped, replaced by a deafening silence. She didn't sleep that night, clutching her camera for protection. Determined to survive the night, Emily ventured out at dawn, searching for answers. The streets were eerily empty, and her footsteps echoed ominously. She entered a narrow alley where the air grew colder, almost suffocating. Something moved at the far end, a tall, gaunt shadow that didn't belong to any human. Emily froze as it stretched unnaturally, the limbs elongating. Before she could react, the shadow disappeared into a wall. Emily stumbled back, her instincts screaming at her to flee. Emily found a cemetery hidden behind the church. The graves were cracked and overgrown, but one stood out. Evelyn Darrow's. The headstone read, "Her curse is eternal." As Emily approached, she felt an oppressive force as if being watched. The ground beneath her feet seemed to pulse, and faint whispers filled the air. Her camera captured a strange mist hovering over the grave. Suddenly, a strong wind howled, sending leaves scattering and forcing her to retreat. As the day progressed, the sun seemed to dim unnaturally, casting the town in perpetual twilight. Emily tried to follow the main road out but found herself looping back to the square. Ravenshade wouldn't let her leave. Her camera showed strange distortions, blurry figures, and strange symbols not visible to the naked eye. She felt the weight of unseen eyes watching her every move. The realization hit her. She was trapped. Seeking refuge, Emily entered the church, which was dark and abandoned. The pews were overturned, and the air smelled of mildew and ash. She noticed symbols etched into the walls, pentagrams and strange runes. A faint sobbing sound echoed through the space, coming from the altar. As she approached, the sound stopped abruptly, replaced by a guttural growl. Emily ran out, feeling a presence chase her until she slammed the church door shut. Back in the square, Emily heard a child's laughter, a chilling sound in the empty town. She turned to see a young boy holding a broken toy, his face pale and eyes hollow. He beckoned her to follow him. Against her better judgment, she did, entering an abandoned schoolhouse. The boy vanished, leaving only his laughter echoing through the building. The air inside felt thick, almost unbreathable, and the walls seemed to close in. Inside the schoolhouse, Emily found a blackboard with writing that appeared as she watched. "Help us." The room spun, and she was transported into a vivid vision of the town's past. She saw children playing, townsfolk laughing, and Evelyn Darrow pleading with an angry mob. The vision turned dark as the mob burned her alive, her screams blending with an inhuman roar. Emily snapped back to the present, her body trembling uncontrollably. Emily felt a burning pain on her wrist and found a strange symbol etched into her skin. The mark pulsed with an unnatural heat, and whispers filled her head. She realized the town had marked her as one of its own. Fear gripped her as she remembered Evelyn's curse. "This isn't just a story," she muttered. The curse was real, and she was becoming part of it. Seeking answers, Emily entered the town hall, its once grand facade now decrepit. Inside, the walls seemed to whisper as she passed, faint voices urging her to leave and hide. On a dusty desk, she found a map of Ravenshade with specific areas marked in red, including the cemetery, the church, and the schoolhouse. A note beneath it read, "Beware the collector." Before she could ponder its meaning, the room grew icy, and a low, menacing growl echoed behind her. Turning, she saw shadows morphing into a tall, cloaked figure. Fleeing the town hall, Emily pieced together the puzzle. The collector was a being that gathered souls trapped by Evelyn's curse. The journal hinted that the collector grew stronger as more people entered Ravenshade. Desperation set in as Emily realized her presence had only worsened the town's fate. She needed to find a way to break the cycle. Her only lead was the cursed graveyard. As the sky turned a darker hue, she felt the collector stalking her, its shadow following even in her own. Emily returned to the cemetery, determined to confront Evelyn's curse. While searching near Evelyn's grave, she stumbled upon a hidden passage beneath a cracked headstone. The air inside was damp and suffocating, but she pressed on. The walls were covered in ancient carvings depicting scenes of rituals and sacrifices. She found an altar at the end, its surface smeared with dried blood. On it rested a small locked box with a faint glow emanating from within. Emily pried open the box, revealing a small blackened bone wrapped in decayed cloth. A sudden rush of energy surged through her, and she saw another vision. Evelyn wasn't the villain, but a victim. The townsfolk had wrongly accused her, and in her rage, she unleashed the curse to punish their cruelty. Evelyn's voice echoed in Emily's mind, urging her to finish what they started. Before Emily could process this, the ground beneath her shook violently, and a chilling roar erupted from above. Climbing out of the passage, Emily found the collector waiting for her. Its form was massive now, a swirling mass of darkness with glowing red eyes. It spoke in a guttural voice, accusing her of trespassing and feeding the curse. Emily realized the bone was the key to ending it all. She clutched it tightly and confronted the entity. "This ends now," she shouted, her voice trembling. The collector lunged at her, and the ground split open, dragging both into darkness. Emily awoke in a dark, featureless void surrounded by faint, ghostly faces. Evelyn's voice guided her, explaining that the curse could only be undone by sacrificing the bone, the last piece of her mortal remains. The collector loomed nearby, taunting her, but Emily stood firm. With trembling hands, she threw the bone into a swirling vortex Evelyn summoned. The collector roared in agony as it began to disintegrate, its shadowy form dissolving into nothingness. Emily woke up in the town square. The oppressive fog lifted. The buildings looked less decayed, and the air felt lighter. Ravenshade's curse was broken, and its trapped souls were freed. She spotted Evelyn's spirit watching her from the cemetery, her expression serene. As Emily packed her belongings, she noticed the mark on her wrist fading. Before leaving, she took one last photo of Ravenshade, a town reborn from its torment. Back at home, Emily reviewed the photos from her trip. One image made her blood run cold. A shadowy figure stood in the background of the cemetery photo, its red eyes faint but unmistakable. She tried to dismiss it as a trick of the light, but deep down she knew Ravenshade's story wasn't over. The collector had left its mark, and its hunger was eternal. Thanks for watching, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel for more new videos.